Reaction Mondays are going to have Abe and Maddie in hour number 1. We've got Maddie on the hop this morning because she's outside of her office. We're going to go to Abe here in a second. Hour number 2 is going to be traditionally Bart Keeler. We're going to go over Yanks Abroad. We're going to go over cards and calls. And if there's anything, and since there is a new Soccer for US POD, that's what we'll get into as well. So that's traditional Mondays. Now that we're in season, that's where we're going. All right, that's opening kickoff, and that means one thing. That means that Abe Gordon is here, and he's going to let me actually find out about technology that functions. How you doing, partner?
I'm doing pretty good. How we doing this Monday morning?
Well, other than the fact that I was muted in my opening monologue because I thought that it was a default setting and it wasn't defaulted. So we had that going for us, which was nice.
It was the best one of your life, too.
That's what I thought.
Too bad.
Yeah, so that's the way it always works. But anyway, I was explaining to everybody that this is going to be traditional Monday, where it is going to be you and Maddie in hour number 1, breaking down Atlanta United, and then in hour number 2, Bart's going to join us talking soccer, Yanks Abroad, USMNT, cards and calls, all the things. So this is our standard construct. So Maddie can only join us because she's outside of her office, so she's kind of abbreviated today. But hour 1, you and Maddie. So now that this is our first official Reaction Monday of 2026, I feel like Lee Hacksaw Hamilton all of a sudden. Reaction! I want to hear from you, Rancho Cucamonga. All right, so first Reaction Monday. And look at you styling and profiling with the racing outfit. So Reaction Monday, react for me. What's on your mind?
Okay. We can go big picture first. We'll get into the specifics of the game here in a second. The big picture, I think, was, and Maddie and I really stressed this in the post game, that this team was always, and is going to be a work in progress. And I think you certainly saw that on Saturday afternoon heading into the evening. I think there was certainly some things that you liked. There's some things certainly that you didn't like. But the most important thing is, do you have something you can build with, build upon, and go from there? And I think, Maddie talked about it. You set a baseline to compete here in this game, and I think you did that. And there were a couple of moments in a smidge here, an inch there, and this is a different game. Obviously, if Saba bends that ball a little bit differently, he had some more room towards the post. Maybe that gets past Celentano and you lead. If Latte Loth is just a smidge closer to being on sides, maybe you catch a review, you catch a penalty, and after they had gone up 1-0, you equalize, and it's a totally different game there in the last 10, 12 minutes. And so you're right there against a pretty good team, but certainly there were the moments of concern. Obviously, the first goal, how you react after the turnover was a little bit of a problem, maybe some hesitation of delay, and the break is on. And I mentioned this last year with you, John, a lot. I want to be able to compliment the opposing team. That was a goal that was worthy of beating you. Now, you could say you needed to take the professional foul to stop that first ball from Giddy to Ekenike, right? I understand all that, but if you're going to get beat by a counterattack, let it be one that's strung together that nicely, as opposed to you just turning the ball over to someone in your own attacking third and they just go score a one-on. At least they had to work. They had to string their passes together, and so you do credit them for their counter, which, of course, they are one of the more dangerous teams at doing. Some of the game-specific things you saw. Really nice 20 to 25-minute stretch at the start. Two things happened. Cincinnati, who's getting their first look at you under Tata with the new personnel, they make their adjustments. There was no adjustment back to an extent. And honestly, and maybe this is just an adrenaline dump, it just went away from you. The whole game was gone from you after 25 minutes. You were very good. You were on the front foot. You were dominant in those 25 minutes. Unfortunately, held scoreless in that stretch. But for the last 15 or 20 of the first half and pretty much the entirety of the second half until it was 2-0 and a little too late at the last 6 minutes, you looked pretty good, but not much to be said there. They had control. they were moving forward. They were in your box, in your area. And so a couple of things could have happened, right? Cincinnati maybe adjusted and you didn't have an answer for that. That could be part of it. I like to think it's more just a bad pacing. And when I say adrenaline dump, it's you feel good at the start and you use up all this energy. And as the adrenaline wears down and we're no longer right near the start of kickoff of the opening match, 20, 25 minutes in, it kind of hits you and you just don't have it anymore. And look, this is where you look at the preseason. They can talk about sprints all they want, right? But practice sprints and in-game sprints are going to hit you differently. They're going to affect your heart rate differently. And this is partially where having that last preseason game canceled due to rain maybe affected you. And this is something they can learn. This is something that their bodies will adjust to. But it looked like they gave everything they had for 25 minutes, and then there was nothing left to get them into halftime and then coming out of halftime. Your pacing, your familiarity with the game moments and feeling it, the adrenaline that you have in game versus in practice and how it impacts you differently, that is something you can grow into. And so when Maddie and I said this is a work in progress, this was your baseline. All right, you made it 25 minutes playing the style that you wanted to play. What's your next step? Getting to halftime playing that style, coming out of halftime and playing the next 15 minutes in that way. And so it's going to be steps. We always knew that. But I do think you credit a couple of names out there, right? I thought if we had named a first half man of the match, it's Elias Baez. He was outstanding defensively in his first start after, what was it, a week? Yeah. Training with these guys. He was outstanding. I thought Thomas Jacob was really strong as one of those defensive midfielders. And, we got to credit it. He may not get the start next week, depending on what Tata wants to do tactically. Cooper Sanchez was really good as well. I do think there's a discussion. Do you bring Saba out and put Moranchuk up higher on the left, or however they want to reshape it, or are you just doing a midfield for midfielder swap with Alexi if he's ready to go for Cooper? But it would not be a criticism of Cooper. You have to get Alexi in there. I think we know that. The biggest criticism I had, which is really unfortunate, is Latte Loth just still looks disconnected from the other 9 field players, 10 overall. Way too many offsides. And partially you like seeing it be offsides because there's some danger there and you're playing those margins, but some of them were just blatant and not working hard enough and lack of communication. And I want to give him a grace period to get Moranchuk back in there and see if maybe that kind of helps him out a little bit more if they can get on the same page. But look, a year after the games that he was able to play, which was its own discussion in terms of health, the criticism for me was he just looks disconnected, disjointed. He doesn't look in line with the rest of the attack. I felt a little bit too much of that on Saturday. And maybe it's the comment that we want to play vertical and he's just waiting for a ball in, and you only had 1 or 2 of those, and he's not getting involved enough outside of that sort of attack. But that was really frustrating because I think you have high hopes for Latte Loth. I don't think this team is going to work the way it needs to work for Tata if he's not involved, if he's not connected, if he's not scoring goals. I mean, this is a guy that needs minimum 10 goals this season for the attack to be what it needs to be. And you just didn't see that from him on Saturday. But again, it's a work in progress. It's one game, so we're not going to overreact negatively. We're not going to overreact positively. Definitely did like a couple of things that I saw. It was always a tough ask to go on the road to Cincinnati. And you played them square for 80 minutes of this game. And credit to them, they jumped on the best opportunity that they had. But you've set a baseline now, and now you need to continue working and growing from there.
All right. And so Maddie has heard the opening salvo from Abe Gordon and your thoughts now that Maddie's version is up at soccerdownhere.net. And so is there a coda attached to Maddie's version? Is there a different version that might be acoustic or heavy metal, or an 80s version to Maddie's version that we talk about here this morning?
I feel like the version would be a reprise, not? It'd be a reprise.
Yeah.
That's the case. If we're going by actual music,
Mm-hmm.
you're pulling me back to my theater. It's making me pull from that bucket.
Yes.
I think even just from looking at everything, I'll admit what I said on the post game, and a lot of what I said, I think in Maddie's version too, is kind of similar. I think it's a work in progress. I think there were things that I liked about the game and what I saw from players, from what I saw defensively. I think that there need to improve as well. And I think I said it to Abe, and I think it's the same thing too, where it's, I think you want to see the team take another step forward every single game. We want to leave every game thinking, okay, yes, this team is improving, this team is more accustomed to each other, things. I would say if we don't start seeing that, that is then an issue, and that can't happen. But I loved what I saw in the game, I think, from Tomas Jakob. I thought he was incredible. He went out for me. I liked him in the Lexington match. I like him even more in Cincy. I think he's going to be a really good addition to this team for his versatility and also just his grit, his attitude. I really like him.
So, Abe, getting into the discussion, I know that there are probably three players that we can get into in depth here, but I know that once again your time is limited, so I will give you your final salvo here. Baez, Jacob, Cooper Sanchez, obviously Lucas Hoyos stepping in as an experienced keeper. One of the four new faces in the starting 11 that was Almiron, Latelot, Cooper Sanchez, Jacob, Alzate, Saba. Backline, Baez, Baracol, Mihai, Ronald Hernandez in front of Lucas Hoyos. So anything else on your mind, sir, on a reaction Monday?
Yeah, I looked at the lineup and I discussed with Maddie post-game, like, what are the changes you might see? And there's just not much. Like, work in progress, and I don't think you want to overreact. And you certainly want to get Moranchuk back into the lineup. Saba did disappear a little bit after that first 25 minutes. I think he may have been kind of the biggest victim of going a little bit too hard out the gate and going from there. So maybe you take a look at Moranchuk there or again for Cooper, but I think generally you're pretty happy with what you saw. Honestly, and I know you gave up two, but the whole back half of your roster rotation, Mihai and Baracol, Ronald Hernandez was, and I say this in a good way, invisible. Like we weren't necessarily complimenting him a ton, but
the offensive lineman approach. You only talk about
right. Yeah. A lot of times with defensive players, and I know we did earlier credit Baez and single him out for a bunch of good plays, but most of the time we're talking about these guys, it's because they made like a tragic mistake. And so we didn't have that. He was absolutely fine, which in this moment is a good thing. And then Alzate and Jacob. So I think you're looking at, that back group is just set. And then you got to find a way, again, if he's fit, match ready to get Moranchuk onto the pitch, whether that's out wide or whether that's still in the center. That's a Tata decision. But I thought it was a pretty good fight. If we're going to be honest, I really did. And we know games against and in San Jose are super weird. But San Jose's not FC Cincinnati. And I think if you perform what we saw in the match day one with some improvements, like a little bit better pacing, carrying strong performance all the way into halftime and then hopefully out of halftime, I think you're going to have a real opportunity to pick up some points on the road and maybe all three. So again, it's tough to sit here and compliment after a 2-0 loss, but it was a tight game. There were moments where it could have gone either way. And so I think you build from it, but it wasn't the worst baseline to set. I do feel a little bit better right now than I did at most of the point last season. The difference is you now have to improve off of the baseline. It's it does you no good to stay at the same baseline. The point here is here's where we are. We're only going to get better from here. Every team says that they're going to get better from here. The challenge is actually getting better from here. And so if you can do that, I think you'll be in okay shape, but you have to show that. And again, you want to see the bump from match day 1 to match day 2.
And next week when you come in, since you're wearing the jacket, I want to use it as an analogy when it comes to, progressing and running too much and bonking and navigating all of that stuff, because that was what stuck in my head, but it came in too late into this conversation. It's me and Maddie on Saturday, are you off running like a hyper marathon or something?
No, I am preparing for the Sunday marathon. And the whole point of it is twofold. Like I probably could do pregame, but like I don't want to be in studio at 10:30 or 11 o'clock wrapping up postgame, trying to get home and then waking up at like 4 a.m. to run a marathon. I want to get as much ideally quality sleep as possible, although I'm quite honestly not expecting to fall asleep easily or for much time Saturday night. Just the mind's going to be wandering. It's kind of already started that way. But also, like, I am usually pretty dehydrated after speaking for multiple hours, whether it's 1 hour pre and then another hour post. And so that's not the best idea either, to like dehydrate yourself intentionally before a race. So I'm taking off. You guys are running the ship, and I look forward to listening from home on the Odyssey app.
Caddy's at Bushwood, brother. That's what it's going to be. So enjoy. Thank you as always for your Mondays, and thank you for your weekends as well. We'll catch up with you soon, my friend.
You got it. Have a good rest of the show.
There we go. There's Abe. All right, Maddie, you and me. It's a preview for Saturday. We're getting them ready. We're getting everybody ready for Saturday.
Dangerous.
Yes. All right. So yes, the numbers on Jacob, and I did want to kind of get into some of the other new faces as well. Jacob wraps up officially with 9 defensive contributions, 3 tackles, 1, 2 picks, 2 clearances, 6 recoveries, 11 of 13 on his duels on the day, obviously 2 fouls registered. So you look at Tomas Jacob, and I'm really excited about the upside of Tomas Jacob. Let's get into the other 2. You mentioned Baez and Cooper Sanchez as a part of the other new faces out of necessity. When you look at those, Cooper, let's go with Cooper here for a second. When you looked at what Cooper did, Cooper just stepped in that 73 minutes, and he didn't seem out of place.
No, and I think it's been building, I think, since the end of last season. I think you were seeing him make really big strides, I think, with Atlanta United too. And, he gets rewarded for it. In preseason, he played a lot, especially with this team, in Lexington. And then obviously traveled with the team, went to preseason with them. Tata sees something in him, or else he wouldn't have given him the start. It's that saying, if you're good enough, you're old enough. It's simple as that. And I think I use the term unafraid. It's something Jason used, something I've used, and Abe pointed it out. I mean, we've studied for a lot of these homegrowns, haven't we? In these moments, and who have, they have not looked not for the moment too. They have always looked ready to go, no matter what it is. And I even think back to even Dominic's first MLS start, which was a chaotic one because he was thrown in 30 minutes before. Dominic handled it with pride, with grace, and he came out there and he looked like he was ready to be out there. That's the academy, and what the academy at Atlanta United 2 has done is they have prepared these players to get ready to jump on to the main stage when asked of them, and they look up for the challenge. And it's why you see so much success with these homegrowns for Atlanta United, because of that. It's because of that preparation. It's because of everything that Javier Perez has done over there with the academy side. All of the coaches, all of the coaching staff, everybody there since 2016, they have done this. They have established this. They've set the precedent, and now you're seeing the reward of it. You're seeing so many young players who are ready to step up and help the first team when needed. And that's exactly what you want to do, because listen, I think a big foundation of it, especially when it comes to these homegrowns, is what they bring you, not only I think on the field, but the attitude. We talked about it a lot last year. I think in the sense of, that I for the badge. It's very similar to Elias Baez too, especially with San Lorenzo. It's the exact same thing. He was in the academy there. He then had the chance to play for them. That's a different mentality, because you grow up, wearing that badge. You grow up wearing that badge from very young. So when you get the opportunity to be a part of the first team, probably players that you've looked up to for years, you know, being around, it's a dream of yours to jump up there. They're ready for the challenge because they know that they have to go out there and they bleed for the crest. And I think why I thought Cooper looked really, really great. You didn't have to name a whole lot, but when you did, it was good. And sometimes it's also his name a lot. That means he's doing what he's supposed to do. And I think especially with what Tata wants him and even Steven Alzate to do is really get high in the attack. That's what that system looked like. You wanted them to get more involved. And that Cooper, fun to watch. That was really cool getting to see his name in the lineup and in the starting lineup. You know, youngest player to start in a season opener. That's pretty cool for Cooper. And then for Elias, I'm going to jump the gun and I'll go ahead and just go ahead and transition over to that one.
There you go.
But I think for Baez, I was really curious to see him line up because, you know, it was very recent as well when he came. You didn't really know how much time he had with the team to gel. But I mean, from what he did out on the field, I mean, it looked like he's been with this team for years. I mean, he looked really comfortable. And I think that's a credit to what this group has done is, you know, you bring somebody in and how quickly they can be acclimated and get things going. And I really like that from Baez. I love his pace. I love his awareness of the game. It's so easy when we talk about defensive plays for it to just be like, oh, you're going to put your foot in and block the ball. You're going to, you know, get in the passing lane for that. There's so much more, I think, that goes into it in the sense of you really want to sit there and you want to do everything you can to strip the ball, get the ball back, but also you want to do everything you can to not allow for a scoring opportunity. Sometimes that's just making your presence known, making sure that you know, the attacker knows you're there and you force the attacker to make a decision. Are you going to try to go pass back and try to rebuild there? And I think that's what Elias Baez did a lot. And he also tracked back really quickly too, because there was a couple of times where there'd be to run back and he would immediately run back and run up, knock it out over the touchline. That's what you need to do. You slow down the play, you allow for numbers to get back, and you get things going again. I thought both of them had a really solid performance. I was really impressed with the three that we saw with Jakob as well as Baez and then Sanchez getting the opportunity in their starts of the season for Atlanta United.
All right. So do you need to jet now?
You got me for another 5 minutes.
Okay. Then we'll take that 5. And I just want to go through some of the numbers here from some of the select folks. We mentioned Elias Baez, 10 defensive contributions on the day, 1 pick, 9 clearances for Baez on the afternoon, 4 recoveries, and then for Cooper in 73 minutes, 3 defensive contributions for Cooper, 2 picks, a clear, 5 recoveries, and he also won a duel on the afternoon. Barakal and Mihai as your center backs. I know that you look at that matchup. You're also looking at Stian Gregerson and wondering where he is when it comes to his health and integrating into the lineup. You know, Alexei was out for a couple of matches. He was being listed as day-to-day, aren't we all? He comes in for his cup of coffee late from, we'll go ahead and say, 30,000 feet. First time out of the blocks, a difficult place to play. And I want to get into the 2 moments. I want to get into each of the 2 goals. Mm-hmm. One, it's an issue in the middle third. And Cincinnati known for 2 things, and those 2 things bit you on the day. 1, going in transition, being very, very quick, and putting the ball in the back of the net once a turnover is created by Atlanta United in the middle third.
Can't happen. I mean, it has a giveaway because the ball went in and it was actually like right around the attacking ball. Then it was a heavier touch. It was a giveaway. But listen, it's like you said, how quickly the transition can happen for Cincinnati. It's what you want to avoid. And Amy High talked a bit at the very end of the game to Jason Longshore, and so did Tobe. And I agree with them. I think it's lapse of concentration. It's a moment where that's in the attacking third. Everyone then gets caught flat-footed in the sense of, oh, okay, we got to turn over, got to immediately spark and go. But it's the 80th minute, and Cincinnati has the gas, and they go, and then Denke is able to come on in and slot it home to make it 1-0. I think it goes back to a lot of what I was talking about. I think the way Tata wants to play, it requires a lot of energy, a lot of really, really pushing the limit. And something we saw a lot of in early 2017 and even 18 a little bit. There'd be times where it'd be all gas, but then it's all gas for 30 minutes, and then it kind of falls. And it's about picking your moments. Yep. It's not about training. It's not about fitness level. This team is fit. You've heard Steven Alzate talk about it. This is probably the fittest I think they have all been. They are fit. This has nothing to do with fitness or anything. It has to do with just managing emotion, managing energy. And it's a very difficult thing to do, especially in the home opener. You're excited, you're on the road, you're feeling the energy, you want to get things going quickly. So you see, and you immediately try to go 100, 110 the first time you see it. You just can't do that, especially in the system that we're going to be seeing a lot of, and where it's that high press, it's really, really high line. You're going to want to keep the ball a lot, but you're going to be making quick transition as soon as you get the ball, trying to get it up the field as fast as you can. It's about picking your moments. And I think you get to the point in the 80th minute where if that turnover happens, how quickly you can try to get back and get structured defensively. It's because I think of that pace, and that's going to just be managing it as the game goes on. It's the first game for that. But I mean, I think it's something that Tomas and Anea said too. It's, you got to make sure that you're keeping the ball in those moments, because you have to make sure that because then a turnover like that can happen. But it's kind of like what I was saying to Abe in post game. This is the first match. It's an opportunity to learn. I in the next couple of games, if the same thing happens again, just like we saw in Cincinnati, you're not going to see the same mistake. You're going to see that it gets fixed quickly. And then at that point too, I think with the header from Haglund too, it's a really great ball, and we know Haglund. I mean, if you get him into an opportunity, he's going to find a way to find a header, and that's what he did. But it's Tomas Jakob said it post game. It's a lapse in concentration. That needs to change. That needs to be quick. And that is something, again, I think really does equate to, match day. There's only so much you can replicate in a preseason game, the emotions of it all and everything else. That's a factor that you have to think about when you're coming into your first game of the MLS season. Now you're in it. You're in the regular season. Now it matters, especially heading into the playoffs. You want to make sure you're getting as much points as possible, and added emotion. It's how you manage those emotions, mentally concentrated. And I'll leave it with this, and it's one thing that Anea said to Jason at the end of the game as well, and you can see that in my piece as well as Jason's piece as well, coming soon. I think it might be posted, but I just teased it, so it's going to be soon. But
there you go.
It's where I think I agree. I like the attitude that I saw. That was something that I really emphasized last year, that I wanted to see more of, and I thought I saw it. Matt Edwards said in the preseason, and he when we asked him the identity of his team, he said nasty. And I like that, because it's not nasty in the sense of we're going to be mean, we're going to be rude. Like, it's nasty as in aggressive, as in just we're going to get in your face. We're going to make it so difficult for you to be comfortable with the ball. And I thought they made Cincinnati uncomfortable. It took them until the 80th minute to find something. And they made it uncomfortable for Cincinnati. I think that first half was really even. Second half, Cincinnati was able to take a little bit more of that control, and I do think it comes to just that emotion element of it all. But I really like the attitude of this team. I like the attitude. I like their players ready to jump into those tackles. I like that you saw a little bit of that bite from Ronald Hernandez and Cooper Sanchez as well. I like that you saw a lot of that, because that's what I wanted to see. And I think the team has this attitude, and I like that attitude that they have. And I think that is going to help them carry over. And it's going to help them, especially as we look ahead to San Jose, which, John, I have a sneaky feeling that game is going to be absolutely insane. And I'm honestly here for it, because I was looking back at some of the other games that we've played against San Jose.
Yeah.
And it's wild.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah.
But it's going to be fun. We're going to have a great time.
Yeah. So what are we, 6:30 on 92.9? I think
6:30 on 92.9.
All right, so 6:30, 92.9 the game. It is the two of us with the pregame and Five Stripes Countdown, and then it's the game with Jason and Matt and Mike, and then afterwards it is full-time report with us here. So go do your stuff. I know you're kind of out and about and trying to get things done, because it's one of the rare times when you can get things done during a match week. So go do your things. We'll catch up with you soon.
I will. Thank you guys for having me.